Panas, our guest. Today he will be sharing with you his knowledge, and we will be discussing the difference between man-to-man defense and zone defense, different types, rules and regulations. So it's gonna be a fruitful session. I hope you enjoy it. At the same time, it's gonna be an interaction session. So feel free to ask, feel free to answer the questions of the coach. But I'm gonna mute all the calls, so we will give the space to Coach Costa to explain. Okay? Deal? So,
My name is Konstantinos Panas. I'm a coach, basketball coach from Greece. My specialty is scouting. It's a very famous thing in basketball these days. I'm also working with youth, like your coach is at. We have worked together. We have done a very good job in the Arab Championship, like some months ago. And he's a very, very good friend to me, and I'm really honored to be invited and talk to you and sharing my knowledge.
our
So
pleasure.
today's topic, as we've mentioned before, it's the differences between man-to-man and zone defense. But before we move on, we have to understand zone has been invented like a lot of years ago. The first coach to ever play zone was Frank Lindley in America, in colleges. And we have to realize before we move on and explain everything about man-to-man and zone that the zone, it used to be played like 30, 40 years ago, back in the 80s. It's totally different from the way we play defense these days. You have to understand that we cannot be passive anymore because you have to realize back in the 80s the gameplay was totally different. Right now in 2020, you understand we have great athletes, great shooters, everything is better, more stronger. So you have to understand with all the progression of speed and pace and athleticism, we can never be passive on defense, whether we play man-to-man or whether we play zone. So back in the 80s, there was this idea that we're going to play zone to prevent the penetrations, and we're going to make shooters shoot the ball, which means these days we can't be that passive. And the shooters that are now, like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, you can never play zone against them. Or if we go to EuroLeague, JC Carroll, Real Madrid, Jimmer Friedel of Panathinaikos, Luigi Datome, Fenerbahce, you can never leave these guys open. And imagine back in the 80s, they used to play this kind of zone. You can see the board. Can you all see the board, guys?
Yes.
So the ball was here, okay, and the defenders were here, and they wouldn't go defend on ball, okay. They were like 2 meters away. They had arms wide open, and they would only move only if there was a penetration. They would try to close this penetration, and that's it. Which means we can't be that passive in 2020. The shooters, like the ones I've mentioned, if you leave them 5 centimeters alone, they're gonna shoot the ball and they're gonna score. So you understand? You understand? Right now, we're gonna be aggressive, and we got to be strong. So if you want to remember something about me, I want to tell you a quote from a coach. Can't remember his name, but he's exactly what I'm talking about right now. You can never play man-to-man without zone, and you can never use zone without man-to-man rules. Do you all understand that? We can never use man-to-man without zone, and you can never use zone without man-to-man. Is that acceptable for everyone? It's a quote from a coach, I can't remember who, but it's very, very, very good, and I use it most of the times. So before we enter the zone topic, we have to talk about man-to-man. We have to explain, teach, and learn all the basics of the man-to-man. And let me tell you one thing about defense and offense, actually. Offense is not going to be there all the time, which means you might be a great scorer, which means you can have double digits in like 3 or 4 games. You can score 20 points. That's good. But defense is always going to be there. You understand we have the scouting now, which means we have like 10 or 12 assistant coaches sitting on the bench, and they are keeping their eyes on you and the tactic. of yours. Which means if you are very, very good, the assistant coach is going to say, oh, this guy, he takes a pick and roll from the elbow, he's doing a right drive, and he scored 10 points like that. Which means in the second half, they're going to block you. They're going to defend you. Okay? So offense is not a solid thing. You can never be sure if you're going to score 20 points in a game because they're going to scout you. You might struggle, you might miss shots, but defense is always going to be there. You can always play good defense, always. You understand that? There are going to be games that you may score 0 points. That's okay. But if you can play defense, you can always, always be useful to your team. So rely on your defense more than you rely on your offense, because offense is not going to flow all games. And let me ask you one thing. Okay, I'm going to ask you this one thing, and I want you to answer me. Feel free. Whoever says to himself, I'm not going to get beat. You understand? I'm not, this guy in the offense is not going to beat me on defense. I'm better defender. Okay? Who says that? Whoever says that to himself, I'm not going to get beat. Everyone says, I can dribble like Kyrie Irving. I can shoot the ball like Klay Thompson. I can pass like Steve Nash. But who says I can play defense? You know, that's the point. Everybody says I can do everything on offense. I can do this, I can do that. Who can play defense and really desire to be a great defender? Create that mentality of being a great defender. So I want you to answer me if you like. Anyone can talk. Who says I'm not going to get beat? Who likes to play defense?
I do, coach. I'm not exactly at a very good level at defense, but honestly, a defensive player of the year would mean more to me than a top scorer.
That's a very good mentality.
I agree.
Feel free, don't worry. Yeah, we're here to talk and discuss everything. What about the girls? Do they like defense, coach? Do they play defense?
Yeah, yeah, they can answer.
I find it go ahead. No, go ahead. I was saying I like defense.
That's good. I'm really, really proud that when I enter the gym and my players, before they start practice, they don't just hang out with their friends. They take a ball and they might do ball handling drills, they might do shot technique, they might do defensive slides, which is something really, really unique. I'm going to ask you another question, and I'm going to give you the answer right now. What is the difference between you, who play basketball, and a guy or a girl in your age who never played basketball before? I'm going to tell you right now. A guy or a girl who never played basketball before, when he touches the ball, when he grabs the ball, the first thing he's going to do is shoot the ball, right? And what is the difference with you? What are you doing when you enter the gym? Do you take the ball and you're going to hang out with your friends, making some jokes? Or do you go do some ball handling drills? You know what? If you want to say to yourself, I'm a basketball player, you have to act like a basketball player, because somebody who never played basketball can take a ball and shoot. So the next time you enter the gym, don't just take a ball and go shoot the ball just like someone who never played basketball, but take your ball, do some ball handling drills, some shooting drills, or some defensive slides, and then you're gonna say, I'm a basketball player. You have to create this mentality, grows in you, and as you grow in higher levels, you're gonna feel that you're a basketball player and you can do that. Okay? So let me give you another short quote by Zeljko Obradovic. Have you ever heard of Zeljko Obradovic? Do you know who he is?
Isn't he a coach?
He's probably the best coach of all time in EuroLeague, in
The
Europe.
EuroLeague coach, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so Zeljko Obradovic said, offense wins games, but defense wins championships. Which means offense is gonna flow in a lot of games. It's gonna help you win games, as we said before. But defense in that very game of the final is gonna give you the championship. Because as we said before, in the final, there's a lot of preparation, there's a lot of scouting. So if you rely on offense, they're gonna scout you. I'm not telling you you're not gonna score 20 points, but there's a lot of chance that you might not. But if you rely on defense, and you draw all your energy from defense, then you're gonna be a great scorer, then you're gonna do everything, and you're gonna win championships. Okay, so keep that from Zeljko Obradovic. And let's talk about man-to-man, alright? So, man-to-man defense, traditional man-to-man defense, it's the most common defense in the whole world, okay? In the NBA, with the progression of the shooters, they're playing exclusively man-to-man. It's really hard to see any NBA team defend with zone presses or zone defenses because of the range of the court. The court is bigger. It's really hard to play zone defense. You should need very long, very athletic players that can really help and recover, and it's really, really hard because in Europe and NCAA, where they use more of the zone defense, the courts are shorter, so it's easier to use. So in NBA, they use exclusively the man-to-man defense, okay? So let's ask ourselves, why run man-to-man? I'm gonna give you 3 things. Number 1, because we prepare you for the future. This is the defense that you're gonna play more times. We say from 1 to 10, you're gonna play man-to-man defense 8 times and zone 2 times. Okay, so we prepare you for the future because man-to-man helps you to develop all your athleticism. You're more versatile, you create a better stance, everything is getting better with the man-to-man, and also it's the first defense you're getting taught by your coach. Number 2, it's very important to learn man-to-man and all of its basics because as you grow and you're getting older and you go to the higher levels, the coaches there will demand you to know all the basics of the man-to-man. They will demand you to know how to defend the pick and roll or put a trap in the low post and things like that. Okay, so you should definitely know all the basics of the man-to-man if you want to grow to the higher levels. Okay, and of course, number 3, it's the king of all defenses. Everything starts from the man-to-man. You can never play a passive defense anymore. You need man-to-man, that's for sure. Okay, so we prepare you for the future. Number 1, you should know as you grow in higher levels, you should know all the principles. And number 3, everything starts from man-to-man. Okay, so let me give you some rules. Okay, some rules I tell to my players. 6 rules I give to my players. It's about defense. Okay, number 1 is concentration and focus, which means it's everything. Concentration and focus is everything in basketball. Okay, it's not only in defense, it's in the game itself. When you're in the bench and coach is out, tells you to run this offense or tells you to run this defense, you have to be 100% concentrated on what he says. Because when you enter the court and you think of something else, you're gonna do your own thing, and then coach is gonna scream or yell at you at the bench, or he just might bench you, which is what I would do. Number 2, you have to be aggressive. Okay, as we said, you can never be passive anymore. Anything you do, you defend the ball, you're gonna help, you're gonna defend the closeout. Anything you do, just put aggressiveness. Okay, be aggressive. Okay, this is the defense we play these days. Number 3, anything you do, you have to put all your energy in it. Okay, don't be afraid that you're gonna put all your energy on defense and you're not gonna be able to score on offense. That's not a good mentality. Instead, if you have the mentality of growing energy from defense and you're gonna get much better on offense, then that's we're doing a good job. Number 4, it's one of the most important things I keep telling my players all the time, which is stay low. I keep telling my players, stay low, stay low, stay low. Because in basketball, there are like 1,000 kinetic moves that demands you to stay low. You should have the correct stance to be balanced and explosive. Okay? So stay low. You can train that with squats and a lot of exercises to develop a better stance in basketball. But imagine in 40 minutes of playtime, 39 minutes, you gotta stay low and do all these kinetic moves. You can never stand tall. Okay, this is very very important. Number 5, desire to be a great defender. That's what we mentioned before. You should have the desire to become a great defender, what we talked about before, the mentality. Okay, so desire to be a great defender and will grow on you. And of course, number 6, which is very very important, is communication. You have to talk with your teammates. Even more in defense, you have to talk. I've heard the coach of the Greek national team under 21, I think, and he said that the players, and we're talking about national team right now, the young players weren't talking to each other, which is something really bad. You can never play basketball without talking to your teammate. Okay, and it's something I see to the young players there, to my youth. They are afraid to talk to each other. You know what I'm saying? So it's really good to start developing communication with your friends, your teammates, okay, which is something is gonna help you grow your defensive status. So these are my 6 rules. Let's go again. First one, it's concentration and focus. Number 2, it's aggressive. Number 3, it's energy. Number 4 is stay low. Number 5 is desire. Number 6, it's communication. Okay. So let's talk about the man-to-man rules now. So we defend a right-handed player, right-handed ball handler. So we put our left feet in front, we create a diagonal stance, we force him to the left. Okay? Exactly the same with the left-handed. We'll not get beat from the middle, and you can only get beat from the middle when the ball is in the wings, okay, or in the corners. So they can never pass you from here, and from here. Because they can see the whole court, because they can pass better, and they can shoot better. Okay? Number 3, face cuts. The ball is over here. We're over here, we're over here. The ball handler passes the ball and he cuts. Never can anyone face cut you, which means he cuts in front of you and he receives an easy pass. No, that can never happen. You have to jump to the ball, okay? You have to jump to the ball. There's a pass here. You have to deny this pass and follow your player. Okay? So number 3, we never let them cut in front. Face cut. Never. Number 4, always move as the ball moves. In man-to-man, you get to have 3 positions, and I'm going to talk to you about it later. So as the ball moves, we move, and we can either follow our player, we can get the help side, we can be denial, or we can be help defenders. Okay, so the ball is here. Let me draw 5 players. The ball is in the wing. There's a defender here, there's a defender here, there's a defender here, and there's a defenders here. So as they move the ball, we have to move and take other positions. Okay? So move as the ball moves. Number 5, deny the first passes. Okay? This is the position. Over here and there. We deny the first passes. Anywhere you are on the court, even the ball is here. If the ball is in the wings, we deny here and there. Okay? If the ball is in the corners, we deny just this pass. Or if it's a pass into the post. Okay? If the ball is in the top, we deny these 2 passes. If the ball is in the wing, we deny here and there, etc. Okay?
So, coach, just I want to mention a sentence that we used to
Yes.
use it in the practice to make it simpler for them.
Yes.
What the coach means, we insist on denying the man who is 1 pass away from the ball.
Exactly. So if the ball is over here, he is 1 pass away. We deny these easy passes. Over here, we raise our hand. Okay? We raise our hand. We try to deny the first pass. Is that okay, coach? Perfect. Number 6, we never help from the strong side, or we never help one pass away. Let's just say defender here and defender here. Okay? If this guy drives, this guy over here, he cannot help because it's a very easy pass to this guy over here. He will be able to shoot, he will be able to cut behind our back. There's going to be really confusion to our defense and an easy basket probably for the opponent. And the last thing, number 7, we only help from the weak side. So if the ball is here, defenders here, defenders here, defenders here. Okay? Can you see that? Let's just say the ball is here in the wing and there is a penetration. We don't help here, okay? But we'll help from the help side. These two players, depends from your coach, are the ones who are going to help. Okay? So let's go again on the 7 rules of the man-to-man. We force the ball handler to his weak hand. We don't allow middle penetrations. We never allow face cuts. We always move as the ball moves. Okay? We jump to the ball if he passes. We follow our player. We create help side and strong side. Depends. We deny one pass away players. Okay? We don't help from the strong side or one pass away. Never. And of course, we only help from the weak side. Is that understandable for anyone? Everything okay? Coach?
Yes.
Guys, if you have any question, and feel free to ask, okay?
Of course. So now let's talk about the positionings you're gonna get while we play the man-to-man defense. So there are 3 positionings you're gonna have as you play the man-to-man. So you might be defending the ball handler, which is over here. You might be denying the first passes, or you might be help defenders, which means you are 2 passes away. So these are the 3 positionings you might get while you play the man-to-man. I'm going to show you in each position how you're going to play. So let's just say I showed you how you're going to play when the ball is in the top of the key. Let's just say the ball is here in the left wing. There is the ball handler. There is the first passes, which is here in the corner and here in the top. Okay? We deny the first passes. And there are 2 help defenders. So the ball is here in the wing. When the ball is in the wing, we demand this player, we force him to go to the baseline. As we said, we can never accept any middle penetration. So here we defend on ball, 1 pass away, help side, help side, help side. As you see, these 2 defenders, they are creating an I. So for many Americans, for example, the 2 defenders helping in the help side, in the weak side, they are called the I defenders or the I defense, which means is the help side. Okay? So let's go on the opposite side. So let's go on the right wing. We defend on ball, we deny here, we deny here, and there are help defenders over here and over there. And let's go to our final position.
Sorry, coach.
Yes.
But only half of the board is clear. The rest is not.
Can you see now?
It's still cut. Like,
The ball
No.
in the corner.
Yeah, it's in cut now.
You mean you can see? I can hear you very good.
Do you want him to repeat the last situation?
No, I just saw them. I just saw them the corner from the opposite side. It's from the opposite side.
okay.
Okay. So the ball is here. The ball is in the corner, the right corner. Okay. So we force him to go into the baseline. There is a deny over here. Okay. Help defenders here. Help defenders here. Help defenders here. Okay. Is that clear for anyone? So these are the three positionings you will get as you play the man-to-man defense. Okay, you might defending the ball handler, you might be denying, okay, or you might be a help defender. And let's go to our last topic when we're talking about man-to-man. We're gonna break down the man-to-man in 4 topics. First one, it's transition defense, okay, which means our defensive balance, who is gonna return first, who is gonna attack the rebounds. This is our transition defense, okay. Each coach has different rules, it depends. Then we go to the low post. How are we gonna defend the guy before he receives the pass? How are we gonna defend the low post when he gets the pass, etc. Then we have pick and roll with lots of variations. And then we have how to defend the off-ball screens. So these are the 4 topics when we break down the man-to-man defense. How we're gonna defend all these 4. I'm not gonna explain it more because there are like a lot of things to say about man-to-man defense. But right now, coach, I think it's time for the kids to ask me questions because I talk too much.
We can move now to the question, but it's not the end. The coach will talk in a few minutes about the zone defense rules and regulations.
Yeah, we have a lot of things to say.
I have an idea in mind. I didn't share it with the coach. I'm gonna share it with him now. I'm prepared. Then we'll move to the second topic.
Anyone?
May I ask you a question, please?
Yes, of course.
But it's like a bit different from the given subject that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, of course.
As you are a scouter, if you are like recruiting a new player for your own team, what are the certain things that you're looking for a player that you recruit for your own team?
Yeah, it depends on what the head coach might want. For example, we might have a great scorer in the point guard position, so he's gonna ask me to find a great defender on ball. So all I'm gonna search, it's finding a point guard who has a great size, who can defend on ball, who is a great pick and roll defender, etc. So it's totally up of what you ask for. You understand? It depends of the head coach. I think versatility, it's great, especially in zone. You have to be extremely quick on defending on ball, recover to your spot. And in man-to-man everywhere, you have to be a great athlete in general these days.
I have another question as well.
Of course.
If versatility is important, if a player is short in size, like not exactly short, I mean.
Yeah, I understand.
Exactly. How can he defend like a center, a big guy?
Well,
the player is shorter than him.
So let's imagine you're a short guy and you have to defend a taller defender. You mean how to defend the taller opponent? That's what you're asking me.
I've had experiences where I had to defend a player taller than me. I'm not exactly shortest. I had experiences like that.
Who's talking? Kopali?
Yes.
Well,
Taller than you, Kopa?
in defense, if he tries to post you up, you're surely gonna try to deny. Because even if he receives the pass, he's gonna feel you, get physical with him. And on the other hand, on offense, because he's taller than you, he's probably gonna be not that quick as you. You know what I mean? So on defense, if he tries to post you, try to deny him, and on the other hand, try to beat his speed with your speed.
Okay, thank you.
Any question, guys? Do you have more questions?
No.
The girls are shy, coach. They don't talk.
They are focusing on taking some notes.
Any other questions about the defense? Is everything understood about the rules and everything?
Yes.
Okay, coach. So we move on to our next topic. We start about zone. All right. So where we going when we're going from man to man into zone, you have to understand that everything starts from man to man. So let me give you some quick differences between man to man and zone. In man to man, you are responsible to defend one player and help. In zone, you are responsible for one spot and help. Number two, in man to man, there are a lot of defenses of pick and roll, a lot of defensive variations, but in zone, most of the time they're gonna switch, okay? Or if there's a centric guy in the high post, they're probably gonna go over, but most likely they're gonna switch to the zone. Number three, in man to man, you follow your player through cuts. In zone, you follow until you enter your teammate's spot, okay? And then you give this player to your teammate and you return to your spot. In man to man, we involve zone on weak side. I'm going to explain you. And in zone, you can involve man to man rules anywhere you want. I'm going to give you some short examples later on. So let's talk about the major difference between man to man and zone, which is our topic today. The bigger difference is when you play man to man, you are assigned in one player, and when you play zone, you are assigned in one spot. In both situations, in both occasions, you have to be aggressive and use both defenses in your arsenal. You can never play, as we said before, you can never play man to man without using some zone, and you can never play zone without using the man to man rules. Okay? So right now, I'm going to show you some types of zone defenses. Okay. Can you see the board? Coach, can you see the board?
Yeah.
Everyone can see the board? Perfect. So, number one, it's the 2-3 zone. Okay? Which it has its strength in the baseline. Okay? These three players in the back are its strength. And rebounding, it's probably the only zone defense that helps, that's really strong actually on rebounding. And its weaknesses relies to the wings and to the top of the circle. Okay? So the second defense is the 2-1-2 zone. Okay? Its strength is in the middle and in the 3 seconds area. Okay? Its weaknesses is in the wings, in the corners, and in the top circle. Number 3 is the 1-2-2 zone, or if you heard it like box and one. Okay? It has its strengths on the outside, and it has its weaknesses in the middle and the corners. Number 4, it's the 3-2 zone, which has its strength across the free throw line, okay, and it's likely gonna be weak to the corners, and probably, if this player is very, very high, to the high post. Number 5, it's the 1-3-1 zone, which is exactly, they have the same strength as 3-2 zone. The only thing is that it doesn't have the weakness of the high post player as the 3-2 zone has. But its weakness, it's in the corners.
Corners.
Yes, short corners exactly. This thing over here, if you place 2 players over here, it's really, really hard. Especially if you have tall players and you can pass some lobs. And let's go to the matchup zone. When you hear the matchup zone, we try to match the offensive formations, the offensive actions like cuts, pick and rolls, but it needs special alignments. So whenever you hear matchup zone, it's a zone that involves man-to-man in it. So let's go in some quick examples, okay? Let's go into box and one. There is an offensive player here. Alright? And this is our true key of this defense, x1. So x1 is gonna overplay this player here, o1, is gonna overplay him. X1 will not help, will not do anything, rather just follow o1 wherever he goes. So if he cuts here, x1 is here. If he cuts here, x1 is here. The rest four players, they will defend as zone players in a box formation. So in this defense, Coach Zeljko Obradovic that we talked about before, he used exactly this defense in a playoff series of 2011. If you want to watch it, it was Panathinaikos versus exactly versus Barcelona, and Coach Zeljko Obradovic used this exact matchup zone to destroy Juan Carlos Navarro, one of the greatest EuroLeague scorers, and he put on him Nick Kalaithis, a great defender. So Nick Kalaithis would follow Juan Carlos Navarro even to the toilet. And the rest four players were defending as zone players, okay? So this is an example of a matchup zone. It's a zone that involves man-to-man rules. Let's go to another zone. Let's just say we're running 3-2 zone, okay? Okay, so in this occasion, we're gonna say to our players, x1 and x4, okay, if the ball enters the high post, x4 is gonna defend man-to-man with no help anyone who gets the ball in the high post. So this is another example of a matchup zone. So x4 is defending.
Coach,
Yes.
please can you repeat it from
Oh,
the
of course,
beginning?
of course. We are playing 3-2 zone, but there's a special rule when the ball gets into the high post. For example, we pass to the wings, and the wings pass to the high post. Anyone who gets the ball to the high post, x4 will defend him as man-to-man with no help. Do you understand that?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
so this is just another example of matchup zone. So we start with zone rules, but we add some small man-to-man rules. And let me give you another example. We used to run this defense this year with our juniors team. So x1, x4, x5, x2, and x3, all against the other players. So we used to call this 2 over, or actually I'm telling this to you now, which is easier to understand. 2 over 3 triangle. Okay? 2 over 3 triangle, which means x2 and x3 are overplaying their opponents, O3 and O2, which means O3 and O2, wherever they go, x3 and x2 goes. They overplay them. Anywhere they go, they don't help. They don't actually, it's like playing 3 on 3. Okay? So x2, x4, and x5, they are playing a triangle zone defense, which means x1 is responsible for anyone who receives the ball over here. x4 and x5 are responsible for anything happens in the corners or in the middle of the rack. So this is a 2 overplay to 3 triangle zone defense. This is another example of matchup zone. Do you understand this? You want me to write it again? Anyone?
It's understood, coach.
Okay, so we gave,
But coach, I have a question.
yes,
Concerning triangle into the the defense.
Yes.
Can I have can I have one player in the paint and two on the elbow? Can I like switch the triangle?
Yeah.
One.
Well, it depends. It depends of who the two overplay players are going to defend. For example, right now, the two overplay defenders, they defend perimeter players. So if you have only one tall player here, and for example X4 and X1 in the elbows, there's gonna be a lot of mismatches. They're gonna bring a lot of confusion with to X5 because he's gonna be alone with surely a big player, X4 and X5. You understand? But if you overplay a big player and a perimeter player, then yes, you could do that. It depends. Matchup zone, as I told you, you try to make exactly the formation that the offense gives you. Okay, you try to
Right.
align your formation according to the offensive formation. Is that
Coach,
understood?
do you mind if I add something?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, guys, I don't know. Last season we won the semi-finals with Beirut by this defense, but you should understand something that when you use such matchup zone, and especially the triangle and two, you should make sure that your opponent have two dangerous guards, two dangerous players who are the key players. So if you don't have, let's say you have a lot of keys on the board, you cannot apply such kind of triangle and two. But if it's very risky, and let's say you have a big guy at the coach told you under the basket, and he will play easy one-on-one, and he will kill us under the basket each time. So for this reason, it's important. Such kind of zone is is a game changer, but it's risky in the same time. So we should make sure to block the main keys of the opponent. At the same time, the triangle should be quick and athletic and fast, and try to protect the paint in the best possible way. Because if you stop the two key players and the role players start to score easily under the basket, then your team will suffer. So at the beginning of the call, Coach Konstantinos mentioned that to play a good defense, you should be a good athlete, and you should be aggressive and have a good physical conditioning. And this is what exactly needed in such type of defense.
In the triangle and two, they will get more open shots or more.
It depends. So here, when we mentioned, let's say we were mentioning, we were talking, sorry, about two key guards players, two key scorers. So here you are blocking these two, but you have an issue here on the top of the key because you have one guard running from 45 angle to the other, but you have two players also protecting the guard, and it depends on the two players who are guarded by the two defensive players who are playing man.
Also, coach, sorry to interrupt. We want the other three players to take shots because we're blocking the stars, so we're not really concerned about the other three. You know what I'm saying? If these two players, for example, we use this defense against the team this year, and we played in their home court, and they won with 25 points. So these two players, they're two stars, they took 45 shots out of 63, I think. So 45 shots. So let's just say we play this defense, we overplay them 40 minutes, and we give these 45 shots, we give it to the rest of the team. I'm sure there's not going to be that successful, and that's why we won them with 27 points or more. I can't remember. We won them with big lead because we played exactly this defense on these two players. Okay, so we want the rest of the players to take shots when we use this defense. Coach, do the players have any questions about the type of zones and differences between man-to-man?
They can ask if they have. They can ask if they have any question. Guys, any question?
I have a question. If the offensive player who's being overplayed gets the ball and he penetrates, will the help come from the triangle and there will be a switch with the overplaying defenders?
Of course, of course. If the overplayed players, the overplayed any of these two gets the ball and he penetrates, the triangle will always be there to help because they are defending zone. If, for example, they get the overplay the overplayed offender, gets a pick and roll, then probably he's gonna go over, okay? And the rest of the triangle is gonna help, okay? You understand that?
Thanks.
What are the weakness of 2-3 zone?
The weakness of 2-3 zone. Let me show you again. So let's talk about its strength. Its strength relies on the baseline. So you understand that its weakness, it's here in the top circle, because we can have 3 offensive players here, okay, and into the wings, okay. That's the weaknesses of the 2-3 zone. Wings
What are the
and top of the key.
strengths of 2-3 zone?
The strengths are over here, 1, 2, 3, and also it's the only zone that, because it has 3 defenders on the back of the zone, it helps in rebounding. So baseline, 1, 2, 3 players, they are involved in baseline and they are good in rebounding. That's its strengths over here. But it can easily break down from the middle, just so you know.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Of course.
Are there any weaknesses to the man-to-man, or
Of course. The offense creates the weaknesses, and you create the weaknesses. If you're not be aggressive, if you don't put all your energy in it, of course you create mismatches, you create confusion if you don't communicate, and that's what we talk. Zone, because we have solid formations, you know, we can never change the 2-3 zone, we cannot break it, you know what I'm saying? It has some certain weaknesses. Man-to-man can have several weaknesses if you don't play aggressive. Exactly, you don't follow the rules that, for example, if coach is ask you to play switch on the pick and roll and you decide to go under, okay, and you have 2 players on 1 offensive player, then the ball handler will go inside and dunk the ball. If coach is tells you after the penetration, we help from the help side, we help from the weak side, the last player is going to help, and then we rotate. So if the strong side helps, for example, and you free up open shots, you understand? That's what make weakness of the man-to-man, because you're not concentrated. We cannot talk about certain mismatches. We cannot talk about certain weaknesses in man-to-man. We have to talk about occasions. For example, what are the weaknesses of the switch defense? What are the weaknesses of the drop defense? Because man-to-man has like a lot of topics we cannot say about its weaknesses. Do you understand?
Especially when it comes to the screen.
A lot of rules.
I'm not sure if it's right, but as I see, there are much more weaknesses with zone. Or
We will talk about its weaknesses right now, and we can discuss it. Is that okay? Because I'm gonna talk about its strengths and its weaknesses just right now. It's the next topic. And then you can ask me any question you want, okay? Coach, should we move on?
Yeah, let's go.
So, let's talk about the strength of the zone. You understand that you make less fouls with the zone because you're not putting the same pressure as in man-to-man, okay? And you are gonna move let's just actually talk. How do you make fouls? When you pressure the ball, when somebody drives, or when he gets the ball into the post because he gets physical. So imagine all these 3 in zone, okay? You don't involve that pressure, and you will only help on the drive, okay? You have another player who's going to help. So it's more likely to draw an offensive foul in zone than make a foul in zone. And it's likely not anyone to ever get the ball in the post when you play zone, because you're more likely into the paint, okay? So it's harder for anyone to put the ball in the post. So you make less fouls when you play zone, and it's more flexible because anyone can play zone. Even if you are not athletic or not quick or not tall, you can still play zone. It protects the paint, which means you force open shots most of the time. You can confuse the offense because, especially in your age, we don't train you to beat the zone. We train you to beat the man-to-man. So if you face zones most of the times, you're gonna confuse and rush shots and take bad shots most of the time. Or because you think somebody's open, you're gonna take a rush shot. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And the next thing is that it works perfectly against teams that cannot pass or cannot cut, which are two fundamental things. So if you find a team who can do that, zone is a perfect fit. And of course we prevent fatigue and tiredness because we don't have to work as hard as in man-to-man. We don't have to chase over screens, we don't have to go over the pick and roll, depends, you know? So we prevent tiredness. And of course transition opportunities even more because our formations, let me show you. For example, we are running a 3-2 zone and we get the rebound, and we already have the formations to run a decent transition offense. Okay, so we get even more transition opportunities by having a zone formation. So these are the strengths, some of the strengths of the zone. Let's talk about it. Weaknesses. For me, the biggest weakness of zone is that it doesn't help the players to develop their athleticism. Since there is not much of movement, and the main thing you do is help recover to your spot, help recover. You're most of the time gonna be steady. So it doesn't make you a better athlete, more versatile, more athletic, more mobile. And also the back players, which is probably gonna be the tallest players, they're mostly involved in rebounding. Okay, so the biggest weakness of zone is that it doesn't help developing the players. So if you play only zone from a very young age, you're likely not to be developed as much as if you were playing man-to-man. And let's talk about another weakness, which is offense can put their best player into our worst player, which means this is LeBron James, right? And the coach wants him here into our worst defender. And we cannot, even if we change our bad defender to the top, LeBron James is going to be here. But only if we play a matchup zone, we are likely going to avoid that. But if we play a normal zone, the best offensive player of the other team can go anywhere he wants. And he's probably going to go where our worst defender is. Is that understood? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes,
offense
yes.
offense
Coach,
can.
can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Coach, if you're playing 2-3 zone,
Yes.
um, who would you put in the paint to defend? An athletic player who jumps high, such as Zion Williamson, or a big guy, a tall player such as Nikola Jokic?
I wouldn't put Nikola Jokic to defend Williamson. He's very, very athletic.
Who would you put in the paint if you have these two players playing 2-3 zone? Would you put the player who jumps high or the player who's tall?
Somebody who can match up his physicality, because he's a great athlete. So somebody who can be a great athlete as him, definitely. But just so you know, in NBA, as we said previously, it's really unlikely to see a zone defense. Okay, just for the record. Okay, the biggest weakness of the zone, it's rebounding, because you don't defend certain players. You're not assigned in single players. It's really hard to block out, so you have to box out. It's really, really hard. The biggest weakness of zone is rebounding. Okay, and zone, for me, it's really hard to play. It needs communication and the whole team to work as a single unit. If one forgets his responsibility, everyone has a small responsibility. If he forgets it, the whole zone breaks down. Okay, so everyone has to work as a single unit. In man-to-man, if you make a small mistake, you can rotate, you can do something, you can turn it around. But in zone, a small mistake will break the whole defense down. And of course, zone can be good to win games in early stages, and in stages like you're playing now. You're like 14, 15 year olds, so it's easy to win with zone because, as I told you before, you are not trained to beat the zone as you're trained to beat man to man. Okay, so they might be cheering, the other teams, they might be cheering that, oh, we win with zone defense. Okay, but as you grow in higher levels and you become better shooters, better athletes, zone won't be effective anymore if you don't know the principles of the man to man. So these are the weaknesses of the zone. We talked about the strengths and the weaknesses. Now let me give you some quick tips, 8 quick tips.
Coach,
Yes, tell me.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned in the 2-3 zone that rebounding is a strength.
Especially in the baseline. Yes.
Yes, and later you mentioned that one of the most weakness in zone defense is rebounding.
Yes.
That's an exception in 2-3 zone.
Yes, it's the only zone because it involves 3 players in the baseline. It's the only zone that can be a little bit more effective in rebounding, just a little bit more, because it has 3 players in the baseline, in the back of the zone. It's the only one. But most likely, all zone defenses, their weakness, it's the rebounding. It's really easy to understand because you are not assigned to one player, and also when they take a shot, the first thing you do, and most of the players in your ages do, is turn around. But the first thing you have to do is find any player you see, and we're talking about zone, so any player you see and box him out. Just throw him out of the paint so somebody of your teammates can take the rebound. So we're gonna talk about how to beat zone. I'm gonna give you some quick tips, and then we're gonna have questions about strength, weaknesses, and how to beat the zone. Okay? So number 1, it's the transition offense. You have to understand when the opponent, they play zone, you're gonna hear your coach saying, let's beat them quick, let's run in transition, let's beat them in the fast break. Do not let them get into zone formation exactly. Especially if we struggle to beat the zone formation, coach is going to ask you to beat them in transition. Number 2, of course, is offensive rebounding. In man-to-man, you might hear your coach saying, 2 players, the weak side and 4 and 5 are more likely to attack rebounding, and the 2 top guards are going to be the one who return to defense. In zone, most of the time, you're going to hear coaches say 4 players attack the rebounding, 1 go back for the balance, because it's easier to take the rebound. It's also more risky because, as we said before, the formations of zone gives you an advantage in attacking transition because you already have the formation to attack in transition. So ball reversals. Let me give you a short example over here. Most of the time, let's just say we're running a 3-2 zone over here, and the ball is in the corner, okay? Which means this player goes here, this player goes here, okay? And we all move. They all move. If we play a decent, if we have a player here, let's just say we have a player here, and we have another player here. Okay, so this player is the key. If they play a decent zone, they're gonna shift where the ball is. So the ball is over here in the corner, okay, and the zone is shifted. So our problem is gonna be not our problem. Our key is gonna be to pass the ball into that guy with a ball reversal, because this guy can attack the whole gap. You see, there's a whole gap when the zone defense shifts over here. So ball reversals, it's how you can beat the zone. Another way you can beat the zone. Dribble penetration by attacking quick on the closeout, because they're not attached to you. They don't deny the first passes. And even if they don't pressure on ball, it's very, very easy to dribble drive them and get past them. Okay? Of course, high post entries. If in most zones, except 1-3-1 zone, which they involve a player over here, all the rest zones, if you pass the ball in the high post, it's exactly the same as a drive from the middle. It's exactly the same as a middle penetration if you pass the ball to the high post, because you can see here, here, and here, or you can drive attack, you can do everything from the high post. Okay? So putting the ball in the high post, it's a great way to defeat the zone. Of course, overload. Overload means having 4 players. Just say they're running a 2-1-2 zone, and we have a player here, a player here, a player here, and a player here. The ball is in the wing. One defense here. One defense here. There's a defender here, defender here, defender here. Just say 2-3 zone, common 2-3 zone. So when we overload, we bring all 5 players to one side. So when we ball reverse, this guy is again the key. It's exactly the same as the ball reversal. So in overload, we bring 4 players against 5, and there's always one player who's going to be open for a shot or a penetration or anything else.
I have a question.
Yes, of course.
Isn't the reverse pass a risky pass?
It depends. If the zone is passive and they don't press the ball, it's no risky pass, no. But if they press the ball, they put a lot of pressure on you, it's better if you drive and pass. It's much better. But just imagine if they are passive and they are like 2 meters away from you, even a pass above the head is gonna if you're strong enough, you're gonna pass it. It depends on how much pressure they put on you.
I have a question.
Yes, of course.
Like if you're a smaller guard and like vision is a part of the game where you struggle because of your height or something like that, how can you compensate for that if you can't see the ball reversal?
You mean if you're short and you don't have the court vision to pass the ball? Well, as I told to your teammate, it's better if you drive, because if you are short, I'm sure you're quick, you have better handles, so drive quick, destroy them with your dribble and pass away.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Alright, so number 7, it's through cuts, and number 8, it's with quick passing game. So let's go again, let's capitalize. Number 1, it's transition. Number 2, it's offensive rebounding. Number 3, it's ball reversal. Number 4 is dribble penetration. Number 5, it's high post entries. Number 6 is overload. Number 7, cuts. Number 8, quick passing game. So these are the 8 quick tips you can do as a team to defeat the zone. So right now we can have questions, guys. Strength, weaknesses, how to beat zone, anything. You can ask me anything.
Coach,
Yes.
would you consider tall guards, to be a key in beating zone defense?
Of course, because you can align them anywhere you want. You can put them anywhere you want against shorter guards. Or if you have 5 tall players, you can attack the rebounding, or you can align them anywhere you want. Because as we said before, you can put any player you want anywhere you are, and the defense cannot adjust if they play a normal zone.
That's the dream of every coach.
Exactly. Anyone else? Don't be afraid, ask me anything.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
Why didn't you mention 3-point shooting as one of the weaknesses for zone?
Because as I told you before, offense is not gonna flow all the time. We can say, okay, 3-point shots are good, but especially in young ages like you, at least here in Greece, we don't allow them to shoot from a young age the 3-point shot, because we were talking with the coach before, you're trying to put more of your strength and you're missing your technique. So especially in the young ages, you're not allowed to shoot the 3-point. It's not a solution against zone. It might be a solution for Golden State Warriors, yeah, but it's not a solid solution. I'm telling you the solid solutions. The 3-point shots, they might not be a solid solution because you might have 0 to 23-point shots, okay? But you can attack in transition, which is solid. You can attack the offensive rebounding. You can reverse the ball, etc., etc., etc. 3-point shots is involved into all of these things. And we said before, if there is an open shot, the open shot might be a 3-point shot, might be a 2-point shot. It depends. But just so you understand, tell it again.
So the 3-point shot is not reliable enough.
It depends. Just do not have.
It's unsteady.
It's unsteady, exactly. But like any shot, it's unsteady. When you have an open shot, when you receive the ball, you have 3 options: to attack, okay, dribble, drive, attack, to pass or shoot.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Which
so
one is the best?
sorry.
Which one is the best?
You should be great in all 3 of them if you want to be a very good player. You should. These are the fundamentals of the game. You should be good in all of them.
Coach, I didn't have a chance to write them down. Can you repeat the ways of beating
Of course.
zone defense?
Number 1, it's transition offense.
Okay.
Number 2 is offensive rebounding. So actually, if you know the read and react game, you can beat the zone really easily. If you know how to capture good positionings, if you can screen for your teammates to get open, if you can pass and cut really good with good timing and feel the positionings and all that, then it's really easy to defeat zone, especially in that ages. Any other question?
Okay, that's good.
Nothing else? So we move on to the next round, yes?
Yeah, must be.
All right. So where do we involve zone in man-to-man? I'm going to give you a quick example. In simple man-to-man defense, so the ball, it's into the corners, okay? The ball is over here. There's a defender in the low post. There is a defender 1 pass away. And there are 2 defenders over here, okay? Or most likely under the basket. They create the eye defense we said before. So do you know what these 2 defenders, what type of defense they play? Guys, do you know what type of defense these 2 players play?
Zone.
Exactly. So they help defenders in man-to-man, they defend zone. So this is where we involve zone defense into man-to-man. So these 2 players are playing zone into man-to-man. Some teams, especially in Europe, where we don't have the 3-second violation in defense, they might add a sweeper or a libero, which means there is a defender in the 3 seconds area, defender here, here, and there. And there's another offensive player here. So X5 is our sweeper. All the rest players, for example, let's just say they defend over here, 01, 02, 03, 04. So all of the rest players, they have responsibility for 1 player. X5 is responsible to defend this area. He's the help defender for all the rest. And let's just say O5, he can shoot the ball, so we put our player over here, and we're having another example of adding zone defense into man-to-man. So 4 players are responsible for 1 player, and X5 is responsible to cover the rack and give us all the help he can provide. So this is another example when we add zone into man-to-man. And of course, the box and 1 defense. And of course, the box and 1 we said previously. Okay, this is another example of man-to-man into zone. Okay, sorry, zone into man-to-man. So how can we add man-to-man into zone? As we said before, the old-fashioned way of defending the zone, being passive 2 meters away from your opponent, it doesn't work anymore. Okay, we have to be aggressive, pressure the ball, and sometimes even add some of defensive formations according to offensive formation, which makes it a matchup zone. So let's just say we're running a 2-3 zone and the ball is here. If we want to play an aggressive zone with man-to-man rules, one of these 2 players has to say, I'm defending the ball, okay, I'm helping this guy if he drives. Okay, so if this guy drives, he will help. If they're playing a pick and roll, they're gonna switch. So we're adding man-to-man rules into zone. As you understand, we can never play zone passively anymore. We can't leave gaps anymore. That can never happen. Of course, anything else we can do? We can follow the cats and relocate, which means O1, O2, O3, O4, and O5. This guy passes here. Sorry, the ball is over here. 1 defender will be here. For example, X2. Okay, so there is a 1 pass, and O1 cuts, and X2 will follow O1 anywhere he goes, and then as the offense relocates, as they feel, they play the read and react offense, we do exactly the same. So we move this defender over here, this defender over here, and X2 will defend O1. So we're actually matching up all their cuts. As we can do that especially if we have 5 players with the same height, and we're not afraid to put a perimeter player who defends the zone, to put him in the back of the zone, which is the danger zone because they attack on the rebounding. So if we have 5 players of the same size, then it's not going to be a problem, or 5 athletic players. So this is another example: follow, cuts, and relocate. And of course, if we're just aggressive on ball, this is just a zone. You can play any type of zone, but you can always be aggressive on ball. This is how we play zone these days, aggressively. We can never be passive or leave anyone alone, because as we said before, we have like crazy shooters these days. They can shoot from anywhere, so it's forbidden to leave them alone. Always pressure the ball, even if you play zone or man-to-man. And of course, if we follow cuts, or if we add any other alignment in pick and rolls or anything, just anything, this is a matchup zone. Do you understand the difference? If we just be aggressive on ball, it remains a zone. If we add any other change, any special rule, it becomes a matchup zone. Is that understood?
Yes.
Perfect. So we're gonna go to the zone principles. I'm gonna let you the time to ask me questions, and then we go to our last topic. So let's talk about the zone principles. Number 1, it's transition. We have to be, if we defend as zone players, we have to be really quick and get in positions. Okay, because as we said before, the first thing the other team is gonna do is try to run on transition and beat us before we get into zone formation. So get in position quickly. Number 2, stay low, always be ready to shift, always be ready to help recover to your spot, etc. Number 3, aggressive on ball and prevent any easy passes or ball reversals. I can't remember who asked me that. Someone asked me if the ball reversal is dangerous. It is dangerous if they put pressure on you, like now. We have to be aggressive on ball and prevent any pass. Number 4, hands wide open, okay, to make deflections. In especially the offense, when they see gaps, they're gonna see a lot of gaps and a lot of free players. They're gonna think these players are open. So we want them to make the inside passes, and with our open hands, we're gonna make a lot of deflections. We want them to think they are open, okay? Number 5, of course, is communication. As we've said previously, in man-to-man, even more in zone, we have to communicate. And we have to work as a unit. If someone struggles and doesn't make it right, the zone breaks. Eyes on ball and shift as the ball moves. Okay? In zone, actually in man-to-man, when you're a help defender, you make the pistol, which means with your one finger you point the ball, and with the other finger you point your player. That happens when you're in the weak side. But when you defend the zone, because you don't defend a particular player, you always have your eyes fixed on the ball, and that's it. And as the ball moves, you move. All right? You follow cuts as in man-to-man, and you give this player to your teammate as he enters a zone spot. Okay? Always have in mind that you have to rebound, because as we said, there is a big weakness of the zone. So always keep in mind that we're playing zone, and this is a great weakness. We have to think of rebound, 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 block out. Okay? So these are the 8 zone principles. If you play aggressively and you repeat them, you're gonna have a great great defensive effort in zone. Coach, I think we have questions, and then we go to our last topic, and we're done.
Yeah, any questions, guys?
About the zone principles.
Coach, can you please repeat the list of zone principles?
Of course. Number 1 is transition. We have to get information quickly.
Okay.
We have to stay low.
Okay.
We have to be aggressive on ball and prevent easy passes or ball reversals.
Okay.
Hands wide open to make deflections.
Okay.
Communication.
Okay.
Eyes on ball. You shift as the ball moves.
Okay.
You follow cuts as man-to-man, and when this player enters the zone of your teammate, you give this player to your teammate, and you return to your spot.
Okay.
Always have in mind to rebound. The most important thing.
Okay. Thank you, coach.
No problem. Anyone else, guys?
Yes, coach.
Tell me.
If you're playing matchup zone
Yes.
and you want to play, for example, box and one on a specific player, if he was, for example, a small forward, a tall guard, who would you put in specific to defend on him, to dominate him?
My best defensive player, who's gonna have size, athleticism, versatility to follow him. When you play box and one, because you're gonna put one defender on another offensive player, because you're gonna put just one, you're thinking to put your best defender, and probably he's gonna be a perimeter defender, because you can put a power forward, for example, defending anyone who can cut. You understand? So from point guard to a small forward, my best defender. my best perimeter defender. Anyone else? Ladies?
Yes, I have a question, please.
Of course.
You said we always have to think about rebounding.
Yes.
So, but you also mentioned like not all the players should rebound. There should be this one player that's still out, right?
All players should try to block out any player they see inside the paint. Okay? The worst thing you can do is after a shot, just turn your back and look where the ball goes. This is the worst thing you can do. So after a shot, turn your face into someone you see and try to seal him, box him out, take him out of the rack, so somebody else, probably a taller player into the rack, can take the rebound, can take advantage of the rebound. Always have in mind that you have to block out any player you see in your area.
Okay, so we shouldn't mind, there's someone should be faster on a fast break. I will go out for a fast break. We should always block out the player.
You mean 4 players box out and someone else to just run in the transition to get easy points?
Yes.
That's a special rule that the coach can give you. I cannot tell you that.
Okay.
This is a rule. This is a rule about offense, not just defense. For example, if you know that your opponents, they have very, very bad defensive balance, your coach might tell you one of our players will not go for the rebound, will just go in the offense. You understand? So the other 4 will take the rebound and pass to the open man for an easy basket. That's it. But it depends on your coach. Coach, will you do that?
No.
I'm sure you wouldn't.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. I think we man-to-man or zone defense. Which one do I believe the most? You should learn both, because both of them they belong in the fundamentals. But first, you have to start with all the basics of man-to-man. Later on, of course, you should learn zone, because as you grow in the higher levels, the coaches will ask you to do all you learned, all the basics of the man-to-man, all the principles of the zone. And as we said before, man-to-man involves zone, zone involves man-to-man. Okay? You should learn both. You start with man-to-man, and of course, you go to zone. I believe man-to-man should teach you the stance, and it will make you be more versatile, more mobile. It will make you chasing over the ball screens, or you will learn all the defensive variations of the pick and roll. You're going to get more athletic and explosive and versatile, and all this. It will develop you as a player. But zone will make you play better positional defense. You're going to be a better help defender. You're going to be able to help and recover more quickly in your spot. You're going to be a better closeout defender. And you will be able to defend in smaller parts, in smaller zones of the court. So both man-to-man and zone are really, there are fundamentals. You have to learn both and put all your energy in it. Okay, so don't just say zone is not effective or man-to-man is not effective. Both of them are effective if you follow all the rules we've been telling you about. We've been talking all these hours. Okay, and for me especially, I don't like using zone. Okay, I don't like using zones. It might be easier to win games in early stages with the youth I coach. It might be easier to win games, and I faced some opponents that they used zones in 12-year-old games, and we were losing, but that's fine. You know, I was playing a man-to-man defense with no help. I was doing this. I was telling my players, we're gonna have. Okay, they were playing 5 out, and I was telling my player, you defend here, 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 and there. I was doing this. Because, and even if I was losing games, the last 2 games I won really easy, because my players weren't relying only on their teammate. it's really easy to throw the blame to your teammate. Oh, this player passed me and you didn't help. It's really easy to say that, especially when you run zone. It's really easy to throw the blame to your teammate or someone else. It's really easy. So I tried to make an experiment. So I was playing this man-to-man defense with no help, even if they pass you on the drive. I told my players, no help, because I want to tell him in the end of the game, you need to be a better defender. You need to stay low. So the next time, this player will not beat you one-on-one. It's really easy, especially in young ages, to say, let's play some matchup zone, which means we're gonna help from the strong side. No one is gonna go into the paint. We're gonna stay inside the paint. Nobody is gonna come inside. We're gonna force them to shoot the ball. And especially in your ages, that you're not great shooters, it's really easy to lose. And we were losing. Of course, we were losing because we don't have great shooters at 12-year-olds who can shoot 3-point from 12-year-olds and still be effective. I'll tell you, no one. It's really, really hard to be effective at 11 or 12-year-olds. So they were playing zone to beat us, but they don't understand that after 2 or 3 years that we're going to be more athletic and we're going to have better shooters, they're going to lose with 30 or 40 points. So don't be afraid to lose, okay? Don't be afraid, actually don't have the desire to win. So the desire to win using zones, because you're going to win now that the opponents don't have good shooters. But later on you might struggle, because as you grow in higher levels, they're going to dunk over you. The athleticism grows really, really hard these days. Okay, so I guess that's it. I like to use man-to-man even more, but you have to learn all the principles of the zone if you want to play in the higher levels. Okay, both, you need them, both are necessary. You're gonna find them in your way through basketball. Coach, that's it with my topics. I have nothing else to say. I think it's time for questions and say good night.
Yeah.
So guys, don't be afraid. Ask me anything you want.
Coach, I have a question. Actually.
Of course.
You told us in part of the session the advantages of using zone defense, and not so long ago you told us you don't like using zone defense. Don't the advantages apply in your reasoning, reasoning of choosing man-to-man over zone?
Hold on. So can you repeat the question, please? Because I missed the part.
You told us advantages of using.
Yes, the zone defense. Yes.
But you said you prefer man-to-man.
Yes.
Don't you think these advantages could be helpful even more than the advantages of the man-to-man?
Yeah, it might be. But as a coach, I have my own philosophy. I believe in some things. So I truly believe that I will have to play most of the time man-to-man, or actually 40 minutes man-to-man with the way I do it. And as we go to the higher levels, we will be able to play zone. Okay? But I'm a true fan of man-to-man because it develops you as a player. Okay? And we're talking about young players and young ages and youth players. Okay? We're not talking about professional teams right now. Of course, we can use them both. We can get advantages from both defenses. Okay, I just said I prefer man-to-man. It's not a stable. Okay, it's nothing stable. You know what I mean? It's not nothing is steady. Zone might be better. Man-to-man might be better. It depends. Nothing is steady.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Of course.
As a coach, do you go into the game knowing what defensive strategy to use, or it just happens like when you see the offense in front of you?
You mean if I just let my players go inside and do whatever you want, you mean? Or if I prepare my strategy?
No, I'm saying, do you go into the game knowing what defensive strategy to use, or do you like pick it upon the offense in front of you?
Yeah, you mean if I'm a system coach or a scout coach? Okay. Well, you have your own philosophy, you have your own plan, but as you enter the game, you might see that the opponents, they scouted you, they know your offensive strategy, so then you have to make different plans, you have to make different things to make the offense flow. In some games you're gonna have success, in some others you're gonna lose. It doesn't matter. You just have to try and align yourself into the defensive things. Okay, you have to do just anything that you can do to unstack your team. Okay, nothing is certain. Just you remember this thing. Nothing is certain. Okay. Anyone?
Questions?
I have one.
Yes, of course.
What is the best way to break a defender one-on-one or man-to-man?
You mean one-on-one? The best way? Well, depends. Depends what's your strongest element. For example, you have great size. Go attack from the low post. You're very quick and have smooth handles. Do a quick crossover and attack. I told you nothing is certain. You can do like 1,000 things, and the best thing to do is read your opponent and play with his mind. Fool him, make fakes. Okay, do not just do the same move over and over and over again. Okay, try to use a lot and a lot. Try to practice a lot of moves, so they will be more effective into your game. There's nothing certain. Anyone can beat you, and you can beat anyone. Don't be afraid that this guy can beat me all the time. No, you have to work. You can do something different, and you will beat him the next time.
Coach, so you think being unpredictable is the number one rule for being a good defensive player to break defenders?
You mean if you're you mean offensive player, not defensive player?
Yes, if you are unpredictable, it's the best way to beat a defender,
Of course.
whether man-to-man or zone.
Exactly. That's the thing. You have to do something that he doesn't expect it. For example, you played 3 one-on-one possessions against a certain defender, and he won 2 times. The 4th time, you have to do something different, something he does not expect. Okay, because as the game flows, you understand this guy can shoot, this guy can dribble with his right hand, and he tries to pull up from the elbows. Okay, so as the game flows, you have to make your mind think. You have to read your opponent. Okay, this is live scouting. Okay, scouting is not only for the coaches; it's for you also. You have to read your opponent.
Questions?
Don't be afraid, guys.
Okay.
Think we're done.
Seems,